things I wish I knew before I bought my first house. Okay, let me introduce our panel. This is Elizabeth Misco, and she's here wearing two hats. One, she works with the renovation loan program with University Lending Group. And two, she's also one of our educators. She helps Tallahassee lenders. You know, I just realized I didn't tell you who I was. I'll tell you in a minute. She also works with Tallahassee lenders to educate our first-time home buyers. That's a whole program that you go through that teaches you all the things that you need to know and understand about mortgages and inspectors and appraisers and all those things. So she's very knowledgeable to have on our staff. Next we have Mr. Raney Oven. He is a long-time inspector. He is a certified HUD inspector. His company is Southern Home Consultants, and he's an invaluable source. He's always helpful to Tallahassee lenders and make sure that his staff of inspectors knows their onions, and believe me, they do. And next we have Miss Wanda Carter. She's with Keller-Williams. She's a realtor. She's going to give us the realtor perspective, let us know how it is to work with a realtor, what you need to ask, what you need to look for. And then we have a home buyer. This is Miss Erica Puckett, and she bought her first home using Tallahassee lenders, and she went through with some of these folks, and we'll talk about her experiences. So we are so happy to be here and to explain all these things to you. Now, the way this will work is, the topic is, you know, I've already said, what do I wish I knew before I bought my house? All right, so what I wish I knew before I bought my first home. And let me tell you, I'm Gwen Lightfoot. I'm with Tallahassee Lenders Consortium, and I've been working in affordable housing for 40 years. I mean, I've done single family, multifamily. I've done it from the government perspective, and I've also been on the other side of the table in the developer world. So there's a lot of things that I can help you with on a one-on-one basis if you have questions after our, what do we call this, seminar. Okay, so I'm going to start with the realtor, because I think when you're out there looking for a house, you don't know what in the world, how do I find a house? Unless, you know, your neighbor down the street has a house that you really want and they tell you about it. How do you find out that there's a house that you want to buy? Miss Wanda.
Good morning, everybody. And I hope we'll keep this interactive, so if something that I say along the way, and I'll be brief so that everybody can have their chance to speak too, but I will give a general idea of getting started working with a realtor and why it can be a benefit to a consumer to make your search a little less stressful and a little more efficient than trying on your own, though there's a lot of information now, way more than ever has been available to consumers to do your search on your own. I know all of you all know what Zillow is and Realtor.com, and there are several, you can Google things now. So I started asking myself, I got in real estate in 2008, when in the downturn, when everybody was wondering why I was getting involved with real estate, but it's because I really like it from several perspectives. What role could I still offer as a realtor to somebody wanting to buy a house when they can pretty much find a house themselves? And I realized too that we have not done as realtors a great job of helping you understand our value and what we do, because it's sort of just organic to the process. So quickly I'll just sort of outline what a realtor is and what a realtor does. At least it's how I function with my customers and how I see it pretty much going with most consumers. We are navigators. We are sort of the hub that holds the transaction together if we are lucky sometimes and skilled other times. We know the community, we know the market, and we can help you to not be all over the place trying to figure out where you're going to ultimately end up. You drive the process, we work for you. You want to buy a house, you want it for your family, you have your tastes, your desires, your budget, But we help you, we come in and we partner with you when it's a good relationship and help you to get started in the process, help you understand how to get to financing, help you understand that you're well advised, and sometimes if you're financing through a bank, you're going to be required to have an appraisal. But before the appraisal, what I try to do and what I think is of value to customers is I try to get you to get an inspection, a home inspection and a WDO inspection, and Mr. Oven will talk to home inspections and WDO inspections probably too, before the appraisal, so that the appraisal costs $500 and the lender requires it if you're financing. If you get your home inspection and WDO inspection and there's some major problems with the property before that you can discover before you have to spend the $500 on the appraisal, and you do have to pay for those inspections, but it's less than that, to go through the inspections and then later on get the appraisal and the lender won't loan the money after you've spent almost $1,000, I can at least save you $500 if we spot the problem early on and can't renegotiate the contract with the seller. Then as we move into the process, we get the inspections done, help you to order those, and then we get on into closing because your lender will start working with you, and you disappear from me for a while as a realtor because the lender's got you working with them on your application. And then when everything comes together with the lender, we come back together at the end to do the closing, working with the title company. So that's just a general overview, and I'll just sort of wrap that up, and as the conversation goes on, if you all have any questions, just ask me if it's relevant to the realtor.
Go ahead, Liz.
I have a question, Wanda. Why should I hire you? How much does it cost for me to hire you to represent me in this transaction as the buyer?
On the buyer's side, the way it's typically handled nowadays is there is no cost out of pocket. What happens is the way the contract is written, the seller pays my fee working, even though I work for you, though technically you do pay for it because the seller is paid, the money that the realtors are paid on both sides comes from the money you borrowed to buy your property. So directly out of pocket, you don't pay, but indirectly through your loan, it is part of your closing costs. You'll hear that term, closing costs, and that's something that I hope to just outline for you, the cost structure of a purchase as we go through the conversation. And that's something that is really crucial to understand.
And this is how I would like this to go. The panelists, I want y'all to jump in. So I think, let me introduce Mechelle Mickles that came in. She's with Movement Mortgage. She's one of the bankers. So once you've found your house, then you go and you think, well, I have to have a mortgage. I just can't write a check for this house. So then you talk to the bankers. Mechelle?
Yes, good morning. And a lot of people now, and a lot of real estate agents, they prefer you to actually get pre-qualified before you find a property. That way it makes it easier, like if anything comes up that, we might can't get the loan as far as credit, as far as assets, funds to close, that's kind of handled up front before you put a contract on a property. But as far as the pre-qualification stage, what we do as a lender, you do an application, we pull your credit, we look at your employment history, your assets. If there's anything in the credit that needs to be worked on, we try to tell you at that point, what needs to be done in order to qualify for, whatever different loan programs, because there's a lot of loan programs that's for first-time home buyers, but they all have different features to them. They might, maybe different credit scores for, just say FHA, which is a first-time home buyer program, then it would be for like a conventional loan. That is another home buying loan program. But basically, we look at your credit, we look at, as far as your assets, if you have enough money for closing, for the down payment, if the loan program requires a down payment, and for the closing costs are the lender fees, the title company fees, to set up your escrow account, which is your insurance and taxes, and all of that is included in your funds to close, and that's what we look and see if you have those assets to close. And if you don't have them, that's not a problem because we do partner with different down payment assistance programs with the state, with the city, and with the county that will help you still qualify. You would still need, I would say, at least, like Wanda was saying, at least the appraisal fee and the deposit. You would at least need that, which I would say is about $1,000. Okay? Everything else, if you qualify for a down payment assistance program, normally that will cover your down payment and closing costs. But we do try to work with you to find the best program available for you, just by looking at your, like I say, your profile, your employment history, your assets, credit, just to see what is the best loan program for you.
Okay. And does anybody have any questions? I really want, yes. Wait, you have to talk in the mic, just like we do.
Hello. So, which loan is the best, and what do us as the home searcher should look for when someone is offering us a loan? Because I know sometimes when you try to buy a car, because I recently bought a car, my father always told me to look out for the crooked banks that would try to give me great deals, what they would say, but it would really be 16% deals or whatever the case may be. So what should I look for when being offered a loan?
Right. And I would say that every loan program is a little bit different. And it just depends on, like, just say for FHA, it requires a 3.5% down payment, but the underwriting guidelines are a little bit more lenient than just say a conventional program. So just say if there's like any credit history over the last 24 months that was delinquent or collection activity, a conventional loan might not be the best loan program. I would have to, look at an FHA or maybe a USDA. And USDA is a government program also, but the house has to be in a certain area. It has to be in an eligible USDA area, which is normally like rural, like the outside city limits, all of McCullough County, all of Jefferson County, all of Gaston County is considered USDA. But it just would depend on your particular situation. And normally I try to give at least 2 or 3 different programs so you can see the scenarios side by side. So you can see the interest rate on that program, the payment, the PMI, which is the private mortgage insurance that's required on some loan programs. So it just depends on what is best for you at that time, basically.
And I think Raney wants to add.
I'm Raney Oven with Southern Home Consultants, but one of the things that I've done over the years is I've watched people buy houses for the last 20-some years through the home inspection process. And in answer to your question, be sure that you use a local lender that is well established within the community. Some of the biggest problems I've seen are people who go online and try to do a mortgage online. It's a very complicated process, as she has well explained. Yeah. And you need to trust in one lender, choose that lender, have them walk you through the process for your personal needs, because there are many different programs out there. And the program that fits you may not fit you over here.
That's right.
Okay.
And sorry, Randy. Did you have anything else? I wanted to add, and Liz, we're going to talk about renos in 1 second, but Tallahassee Lenders Consortium is a consortium of lenders. We have 12 member lenders that have pledged that they are going to adhere to these non-predatory lending practices. They are going to keep their fees at a reasonable level. We have a whole list of those things that they have agreed to do to be one of our lenders. So we can help you with all sorts of things at the beginning of the process. Straighten out your credit, teach you about home buying, and provide down payment assistance. So if you're working with one of our lenders, you're going to be working with people that are going to be on the straight. Okay? Any other questions on that? Ma'am?
May I say something real quick?
Yes, go ahead.
And also to your question, with my voice today. As a realtor, when I start working with someone, I first ask them if they've been to the Tallahassee Lenders Consortium or looked at their website. I want them to be aware of that organization because it's a very well-established, very reputable organization for helping you to understand the finance side of home ownership. And there's more to it than the finance side, but that piece, especially trying to get started. And I also give a general overview of the different type programs to help the buyer understand just what kinds of cash upfront commitments are involved, how it sort of works out and plays out over time. So that's another part of starting off with the realtor to help you get all of that sorted out, where to go first, how to start working your financial track while we're looking for the property for you as well.
Thank you. And Liz, you had something you wanted
When I'm teaching homebuyer education, I always encourage my attendees to go in and shake hands and look a lender in the eye. I give the example, has anyone seen the commercial about the woman who went to go meet the French model, and it was that hairy, ugly guy or whatever? Anyway, I give that example. It's like you don't want to end up with that fake French model as a lender. You want to find somebody that you're comfortable with, because this is going to be your lender and your realtor. That's going to be your dream team as you walk through this process. Raney is very important in the process, but she's going to refer you to your home inspector, okay? The lender is going to, send out your appraisal to a third party. That's done separately. But I always say that you go and shake hands, and if they're talking about their competition, or if they have to run down someone else to make themselves look good, then do you want to deal with that kind of a person? If they're talking about other borrowers to you, then they're going to talk about you to other borrowers in your business. So I always, like I said, you get that feeling about someone. It's somebody you jive with. If you like the cut of their jib, as they used to say, shake their hands, look them in the eye. If they return phone calls, things like that, that's somebody you want to consider working with, and especially locally.
Yes, especially locally. And one more little quick thing on this about choosing your lender. You don't have to go with the first lender that you talk to. It might be you like this first lender and they're very nice, but a good consumer will go and talk with somebody else and see if they're going to give you, and there's internal bank policies that might change the way the fees are, for example. Some of them charge X amount for this type of fee, and others do not because it's worked into that fee. It's very complicated, but they have to disclose all of that to you. So it's a good idea to talk with at least a couple of lenders.
Hi,
Erica?
my name is Erica Puckett, and I'm here representing the first-time homebuyer, and I just want to kind of piggyback on what's been said here about the importance of choosing your dream team and really building up your team and surrounding yourself with people that you can trust, that you can kind of expose yourself to and say, this is my situation, this is what I'm facing, these are my circumstances, and how can we creatively work together to create the best situation for me and my family. And I come from the perspective as a person who had no interest or expectation of buying a home as an independent person by myself, and found myself to be in my early 40s and kind of thrust into that situation and totally unprepared. And I had the pleasure, Zillow and some of the online house search engines became like my new social media. I was like on it all the time, looking at like what was popping up and getting super overwhelmed at the process, the new language, the terminology I wasn't familiar with, the complexities of this experience began to overwhelm me and make me feel pretty powerless. And that all changed when I discovered the Tallahassee Lenders Consortium and became a client. I was able to kind of have everything outlined for me, laid out in terms that I understood, and I felt like I had someone who could demystify this experience for me and also kind of point me in the direction of people who could be trusted, who they had already vetted to be working on my behalf and in my best interest. And that gave me the confidence to move forward and to make some decisions about how to take that next step in my life. And if I like to do DIY, like I like to grow my own food and I like to ride my bike instead of drive a car, like I'm like a do-it-yourself kind of person. But when it came to buying a house, I was completely kind of paralyzed at how to move forward. And that is what got me where I needed to go, was surrounding myself with people who I felt like genuinely wanted the best for me and wanted me to take advantage and be able to utilize the resources that we have available in our community. And like Mechelle said, there's aspects to home buying that you would never know unless you were in the business about, like, well, if a house is outside of city limits, it might qualify for a certain, a different type of lending or a different, kind of package. one of the things that I learned really quickly was that my realtor was such a great asset to me, because I could do all this like legwork online and finding a house that looked cute and seemed like it was a really great neighborhood that I wanted to live in, convenient to all the things I wanted to go to, and a great place to raise my children. But my realtor was able to say, well, actually, that house has been under contract 10 times in the last 12 months. That's not a house you want to move on. There's a problem with it. You know, it's got a foundation issue or whatever that might be a huge obstacle if I had tried to move forward on that myself. So surrounding yourself with people that you can trust to be yourself, to be open, contacting TLC, working with organizations that can help you kind of look at your financial situation, your history, your credit. Like I said, I was not expecting to have to buy a house, and so I wasn't prepared for that. And from the day I contacted TLC to the day I closed on my house was less than a year. Because they were able to give me the tools that I needed to do that.
And one more plug for TLC. Our services are free. Okay, Raney, did you want to talk about renovation loans? This is very important. When you find the house that's in the perfect neighborhood and you want that house, but oh my God, the carpet in there is disgusting and the kitchen looks like it's been taken to with an axe, and there's a problem with the roof, and oh, you can't even imagine having to do all of that to turn this perfect house in the perfect location into your home. That's when we have something called a 203K renovation loan. Liz, tell them about it.
All right. I'm going to continue to speak as a first-time homebuyer educator with TLC, as well as the renovation lending. Erica, I had the pleasure of serving on her team when she closed on her loan. She did a renovation loan and went through that process with us. How the renovation loans work is basically you go out and you find a home and say everything else looks good, but you need a new roof, a new HVAC system, and you want to get rid of that ugly blue tile in the bathroom, upgrade the master suite, and maybe get new Energy Star rated appliances throughout the home so that you can afford your home when you get into it. You can kind of control your costs when you get in. That's where a renovation loan comes into play. 203K is a type of renovation loan. There are two types of 203K. I'm not going to get too far into that, but we also, any other veterans in the house? I'm a Marine Corps veteran of Desert Storm. Anyone else? All right, well, the VA loan, the veterans loan is the gold standard for loans. So if you know any veterans and they're kind of scared about going out there or looking into a loan, have them give us a call. So basically you have the purchase price plus the cost to renovate. You go out and get a bid from a general contractor, and that bid is underwritten as part of the loan. That scope of work that's being done is underwritten as part of the loan. When the appraiser goes out, we give him the bid, and the appraiser assigns value based on that scope of work. That's how you get value out. Very often we see people walk away with equity. It's a great wealth building tool, especially for people who can't get into a bidding war for properties that are turnkey right now, right? If it's a little bit ugly and it just needs a little updating, and maybe it's, you're not getting it's on the market, it's been on the market for a while, consider a renovation loan, because you can actually walk into equity. There was another borrower that had gone through, sat in my homebuyer education course. She got the county DPA funds, and she walked away, first-time homebuyer, middle-aged, single parent, walked away with about $35,000 in equity.
Now, do y'all understand what she says when she says $35,000 in equity? That means that the value of that house on the open market, if you sold it this day, which you would never do, you'd have $35,000 in cash. That's what that means.
She could pay off the bank and bank that money.
Right.
Yeah.
So equity is an important thing, and she was talking about wealth building tool. That's a great wealth building tool. It gives you a place to live, and it's an investment for your future.
And if you're a first-time home buyer, your first home doesn't have to be your coffin. I'll say that in class. It doesn't have to be your resting place. Don't buy in your first home what it takes some people 30 years to get into. Right? But when you leave your rental right now, what's going to happen? Is somebody going to cut you a check to go to another landlord? No, but if you sell your home that you own in a couple of years, you're going to get a check, and you're going to be able to move into your next property. You're going to be able to continue to build that wealth and perpetuate that going forward. And the renovation loans are is basically one of the only ways that you can actually walk into equity. And you want to have a realtor that's available, familiar with the renovation loans, because they have to spend a little bit more time. They're not just letting in the appraiser and the home inspector, but they're also letting in that general contractor to create that bid.
Can I say something about that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you might find a house, or you might be aware of a house, become aware of a house, or it might be in your neighborhood that's it's not in the best of condition. And the term turnkey, move-in ready means that it's perfect and you pay, go through the process and just move in without having any repairs. But I've sold houses to people that had major problems of some sort. An inexperienced realtor who is not familiar with a renovation loan might talk you out of pursuing that. Might just say, it's not worth your time, it's just going to be too expensive. And a realtor who is familiar with the renovation loan will at least get you to look into it. We can maybe get an inspector over or somebody to give you just a general idea if it's the house you really want in the area you really want, that it might be worth pursuing, and then go further into the purchase of it and figure out that it really is, and you'll end up, after it's improved, with equity. Before improvement, it doesn't have equity, it's negative equity. But once it's gone through and been renovated through using the 203K loan, then you have positive equity, and that's what Liz was talking about.
And there's
there.
a timeline. We set a timeline with the contractor, whether it's 30 days, 90 days, 120 days, depending on the loan product. That can change, to complete the work, and then the house is done. But and then that's where your value is. So it's not like years after that you're waiting on the equity to build. It's within a couple of months that once the renovations are complete, that equity is there.
Okay.
And one more thing I need to insert, just
Okay,
real
go
quick.
ahead.
What you said about the time frames, that's one of the best things about the renovation loan, because working with contractors, they usually are working several different jobs. And they will, and some of them don't manage their money well, and they'll want to get money from your job to go and finish this one over there. But because the bank is involved in the way they manage the loan, they make the contractors accountable. They control the release of funds through the process so that you don't get strung along. And hurricane season come, and you have a blue tarp on the roof that was there when you first started the process, and they keep it moving along, and they will not give them, they know how to incentivize them to get your job done and get it
That's a
done as
very
quickly
good
as
word.
possible.
I'm considered the contractor whisperer in my department. I am the one that
It's a
hunts
very
down.
valuable service.
Hunts down the contractors, hunts down the bids, make sure that everything is just depending on the loan product that we're working with. Make sure everything will be gel with our underwriter, and everything will be easy for the appraiser to read. Again, because we want the appraiser to be able to assign that value based on the work that's being done, so they have to understand what's being done. So I've learned a lot about how to read bids and what requires permitting and what doesn't.
Okay, now we have a question. Go ahead. Let me get you the mic.
Hi, so I have a question. For the VA loan, the VA reno loan, is it typically better than the first-time home buyer, or does it just depend on your situation?
Yeah, the VA loan can be, actually, you can use a VA loan actually more than once. And Ron and I do a presentation, if you are veterans. Ron and I do a presentation. The last one we did was at the VFW on VA loans, just kind of demystifying them. With the VA renovation loan, we can allow up to $50,000 in cost to renovate, including putting in a pool. We literally just had one that just, all they did was put in a pool. It was a brand-new house, and all they wanted to do was put in a pool. And how that payment structure works is just like similar to the 203K Limited, which is up to, you get a 35% upfront draw, and then the rest is paid out at completion. So that's kind of really nice for the contractors because they can actually just walk into the job with some cash. They're not having to carry that whole contract through for 90 days. And then just depending on the loan product. With the VA, it's 35% up front, and then the rest is paid at completion. So-
But what's your question? Could you use down payment assistance with VA? Or was it renovation?
It was just with renovation, because my
Okay.
sister, she's a real estate agent, and she was saying that the VA loans, obviously, it has the fancy, like the advantages, but she said also with the VA loan, you can also have a lot of fees tacked onto it because you don't put a down payment. So I was just trying to see if the VA loan was the best way to go, or a first-time home buyer.
The VA loan is the gold standard. I would take that over because there's not a first-time homebuyer loan per se. There's an FHA loan. That would be like the 203K. All of them are going to have their fee structure. The VA loan depends if you're exempt or non-exempt from the VA funding fee. That's going to be static across the board. That's a percentage that the VA sets. So every lender is going to have that fee for you. If you do a VA renovation loan, it's going to be the same fee.
Well, I hate to interrupt you, but we do have to move on, and if you have more questions specific to your situation, we'll be available after.
Absolutely.
Now, I'd like Raney to talk to us about the importance of getting a home inspection, what they do, and before I turn the mic over to him, I want you to know if you're going to come to Tallahassee Lenders to get you started through this process, be sure you get a list of our approved. Oh, my goodness, Raney, hurry up. I got to stop talking. But come to us and you'll get an approved list of inspectors if you're going to go through our program.
Okay,
Raney.
we're basically running short on time, but so you've gone through the process of, you've gotten your realtor, you've gone in and you've found a house that you like, you've been pre-qualified, so you know this is the house that you want to purchase. And the next step the realtor's going to guide you to is to have a home inspection. Home inspection is probably the critical thing so that you know what you're buying, and choosing a home inspector is extremely important. When we first started doing home inspections back in 1999, I think there was 4 or 5 home inspectors in Tallahassee. Now there's probably 50 or 60. We are also have to be licensed by the state, by the Department of Business and Professional Regulation. Check your inspector out. If the realtor recommends somebody, still check them out. Google them. We have one home inspector that's on the sexual predator list. How they got the license, I'll never know. Okay? So check them out, check the reviews, check their qualifications. Make sure that they're well qualified and that you're satisfied with them. Don't just, and Wanda will tell you that she probably will recommend at least 3 different inspectors for you to choose from. They want you to choose the inspector. They should not choose the inspector for you. Do your research. Home inspections take anywhere from 2 to 10 hours, depending on the size of the house and the complexity of the house, and depending on the inspector. The inspector should inspect all facets of the house, including the roof, the attic, and the crawl space. We have a couple inspectors that won't get on a roof. Drones are great things, but they do not substitute the real eyes close up. The inspector should walk the roof if they're all possible. And the crawl space is probably the most critical space to get into, because there are more problems found in a crawl space than in any other thing. The crawl space is raised not on a concrete slab. It's raised up underneath. You can crawl underneath the house. The other inspection that you should also get is a WDO, wood destroying organism inspection, okay? That has to be done by a licensed exterminator. They're licensed by the Department of Agriculture. They are required to locate any type of wood rot, termite activity, anything that would destroy the wood destroying organism. That's the name of the report. Make sure they're qualified. I know of one that won't get in an attic. You know how many leaking roofs and what rotten roofs there are? So make sure that they're qualified and that they do you a good service. I have a saying, cheap is expensive. Do not choose your inspectors based on price. You're getting ready to invest one of the biggest investment of your life right now. And if you're going to chance over $100 for an inspection compared to a $150,000 home, how smart is that? Okay? So make sure, the pricing of inspections, they're very, very similar. But one example, I was at a job yesterday, a friend of mine that I was doing radon mitigation on, and the electrician showed up, and he was happening to do the repairs based on a home inspection somebody else had done. The electrician was directed to change out or to put GFCI, which is a ground fault interrupt, electrical outlet, in the bathrooms, the kitchens, and all this, which is required. They were already there. Just because they didn't have the two little buttons on it, the inspector didn't realize that it only required one on the circuit and the rest of them would trip it. So that inspector just cost somebody $600 that was not needed to be spent because he didn't know what he was talking about. So be sure you choose somebody that's well qualified and check them out, get online, Google the reviews.
Call
Make sure.
us.
Yeah, and call Gwen.
So we got time for one quick question, and then we'll be available for one-on-one. Anything?
What's the average cost?
Wait a minute, I got to get you on tape.
The question was, what's the average cost for a home inspection? I can only speak for my company, okay? We start out at, I think it's $300, $325, something like that, and goes on up based on square footage, age of the house, and whether it's got a crawl space or not. Okay, and then you've also got radon inspect, if I may.
You may, go right ahead, finish your thought.
I'm going to jump off of home inspection and go into one other inspection you should include is radon. Radon is the number 2 leading cause of lung cancer in the United States. We lose 21,000 to 26,000 people a year due to non-smoking radon-related lung cancer. You can't smell it, you can't see it, you don't know it's there. The only way to tell is it's there. 1 in 5 houses in Lynn County have elevated levels of radon. It's an extra $100 to $200 for the test. It's well worth it. And typically, if you find elevated levels in a house that you're going to purchase, the seller is going to be the one responsible for doing it, because they can't sell that house unless they know, unless the radon's been mitigated. And they have to disclose any defaults once they're aware of it. That's one thing Wanda your realtor will tell you, that the seller is required to disclose everything they know about that house is bad.
That's right.
Florida Department of Health, their Florida Department of Health has a booth out here, Tim Wallace. He speaks to my classes as well, and he has information about radon as well.
They're threatening me with violence from the back, so we're going to have to wrap this up, and thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate it.